Hello, Martin Houston, and it is now time for our first edition of FinTALK Academy 2021. We're so excited about today's opportunity to share with you. We're going to be sharing 5 tips to improve your credit score. And coming out of this post-pandemic world, this is going to be great information to share, but it'll be great information to share anytime. We have a guest that Jacquie will be introducing here in just a moment. For those of you who are new to FinTALK Academy, we'll do these once a quarter, and we look forward to sharing with you financial information to hopefully help you be strong and sound on behalf of Alabama One Credit Union. We're so excited today. Good morning, Jacquie. How you doing?
I'm well, Martin. How are you?
Doing well. Congratulations. Since the last time we did this, you've received a promotion, and we're so excited about that. You're now the Director of Financial Wellness as well as Community Outreach. And that's what I love about this opportunity we have today is we're not just giving financial information, but we're also giving information to the community that if they'll take it and receive it, it truly will be beneficial. Once again, our topic today is 5 tips to improve your credit score. And Jacquie, I'll let you introduce our guest for today.
Well, thank you so much, Martin. And just like you, I'm excited that we are now back with FinTALK Academy. Last year was amazing. We were able to share some great information. And so I think what better way to kick it off this year than to have Jessie Garrison is with us from Green Path Financial Wellness. Jessie and I have now been working together, partnering together, becoming friends together for probably the last 2 years or so. And so she and I are always bouncing off of ideas off of each other and that kind of thing. And so I just want to kind of let Jessie really kind of tell us who she is, what she does, what Green Path is all about. I think she would probably do it much better justice than I would. But this is an amazing company that Alabama One has partnered with. And the more we can partner together and get information out there from the financial side of things, the better off we will be. So Jessie, just kind of, thank you and welcome to FinTALK Academy. And so tell us a little bit about yourself as well as Green Path Financial Wellness.
All right. Well, thank you for having me this morning. I'm happy to be a part of Alabama One FinTALK Academy today, especially kicking off the new year. And congratulations on your promotion. I didn't hear about that yet. So
thank you.
Yeah. As Jacquie mentioned, my name is Jessie Garrison, and I am a Partner Experience Manager with Green Path Financial Wellness. Alabama One Credit Union partners with Green Path Financial Wellness. We are a national nonprofit organization providing financial education and counseling. I've been with Green Path going on 4 years now, but I've been in the financial industry since 2005 in banking, real estate, investments. So the whole gambit. I've got kind of a little bit of experience in all those different areas. And then I was also working at Green Path as one of our financial wellness experts or the financial counselors that we take the calls and talk to folks and help them through whatever questions that they might have as far as finances, housing, counseling, student loan counseling. Green Path does specialize in a debt management plan. We'll touch on a couple of these topics a little bit later today as well.
Okay. Good. Well, Martin, you want to kick us off with our topic for the day?
Absolutely. Once again, Jessie, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for what Green Path does on a regular basis, but also the special relationship we're developing with you, the Alabama One Credit Union. My first question to you, Jessie, has to do with COVID-19. We're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. But my question to you is, what do you think is the biggest financial issue for those impacted by COVID-19 and the pandemic?
So what we've seen as far as in the southern United States, I know that's the region that you're in, but probably across the US as well, people impacted from financial challenges stemming from COVID-19 do have options when it comes to getting financial guidance, counseling, and education. At the onset of the pandemic, we saw a 50% increase in calls, and the majority of the calls were largely related to housing, making mortgage payments or rent payments. Many callers have seen changes in their income situation. They may not have been back to work yet, or they were back to work with reduced hours or reduced pay. So we know the COVID relief, including stimulus checks, has been a bridge for many, but it's still been a difficult year. Right now, we're seeing about 3.8 million homeowners that are in forbearance on their mortgages, and many are relying on the forbearance relief. Most callers are still unable to save or make payments towards the deferred loan balance, and many are worried that they're going to have to make those lump sum payments when the forbearances are up. And during this time of forbearance, interest is often still accruing, and people still need to maintain property taxes and insurance premiums on their own during this forbearance period. Once relief program ends, we're likely to see a wave of loan modifications, possibly foreclosures, if borrowers can't resume their own payments. Right now, we're also seeing a large increase for the need for rental counseling and modification or post-modification coaching. There's so much uncertainty with eviction moratoriums, and right now there's about 110 million renters in the US, and it's estimated between 19 to 23 million Americans are still at risk for evictions if moratoriums are not extended to other assistance is not provided. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot still that people have concerns about. And even if lenders do decide to extend relief, the earlier borrowers are able to prepare to resume their payments is going to be better. And now is a good time for borrowers to take a close look at not only your current loans that you have maybe on forbearance, but your entire financial picture. We do want to make sure that people know that the forbearance is not forgiveness. Borrowers should not only rely on these extensions or forbearances as a budgeting strategy. People will need to figure out how to move forward in the face of these relief options expiring. People can better understand their options and feel better prepared when they speak with GreenPath. Our GreenPath counselors are ready to help people facing foreclosure, understanding prevention options, including repayment plans, forbearance, loan modifications, or refinancing. And we have over 100 HUD certified housing counselors ready to assist homeowners with their most valuable asset.
But Jessie, before Jacquie asks you that next question, you briefly hit that, but I really want our listeners to understand something you just said about forbearance versus forgiveness and the impact that can have. Why is it so important that they understand the difference there? And we're not, talking down to people, but we want to make sure that they truly understand the difference.
Yeah, the thing with forbearance is that you don't currently have to make a payment for a given specified amount of time, or it might be a reduced payment during that specified time. But the majority of the time during a forbearance, anything that was skipped or missed is due at the end of the forbearance. And before COVID-19, before this pandemic happened, a typical forbearance might have been a 90-day forbearance. But on day 91, all 3 of those payments were due.
Right.
So it's good in certain situations. And again, outside the pandemic, it was typically used for somebody that maybe got laid off, or maybe they were on a short-term leave of absence, maybe for a medical reason. So they knew they had a short period of time with reduced or no income, but they knew that the income was coming back and they would be able to then catch up on those payments. So folks that maybe have had a forbearance now for 12, 14 months or even longer, those 12 or 14 payments are still due. And you need to work with your lender directly. That's where maybe a loan modification is going to be one of those solutions for you, where you're then taking those 12 to 14 payments that you had skipped. You might tack those on to the end of the mortgage. So maybe your mortgage was 30 years. Now it's going to be 30 years and 14 months. So you have those 14 months on the end. Loan modification might re-amortize all of the payments that you had remaining and give you a new monthly payment, which very well could be more than the payment it was before you started the forbearance. So the most important thing that we can recommend is to ask for help. Talk to someone so you can understand all of your options, and absolutely get in touch with your servicer, your lender, your mortgage provider, so you can talk about what options are available when, even if you're not ready to make those payments, but when those payments need to start again, you need to make sure that you have a plan in place.
Wow. All I can say is just from that one question, I think our listeners will be able to see how important, just having a relationship with your lender, with your financial institution, how important it is to make sure that you're slowing down to ask the right questions and understand. And I know Martin and I, when we started this FinTALK Academy at the beginning of 2020, we stressed to our listeners, listen, don't go do that forbearance unless you have to, because here's what's going to happen. And I know we were all kind of like in a panic mode, and what are we going to do and how are we going to survive? And so I'm just excited about us having this opportunity to come together and to share this information with whomever we can share it with. Because not only is housing, but which now leads to my question, just credit overall. So many people have been affected, by so many things, being laid off or losing a job permanently. And, moms in the household not going to work because they have to be at home with their children. So my question is, with those folks who have been affected adversely on their credit reports, what advice can you give them to get that back on track? And I know that we're trying to put in, 20 minutes, what you guys do, with months with people, but if you can just kind of hit some of those high points, we talked about the 5 tips to improve your credit, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So in addition to housing, we do have debt management counseling. So if you think about just any other debt, not only the housing, and that's a big part of our call volumes. We want to make sure that you know your options when it comes to borrowing and then managing debt. So the first tip, the first thing that you want to help to improve your credit score is to make on-time payments. Typically, when you, just to use the example that we were talking about on a forbearance, it's typically not necessarily marked as a negative, but if you did have a late payment before you got the forbearance, or if there's been other late payments, the best thing that you can do is start to make those on-time payments, because that makes a 35% of your credit score. So that's the biggest piece of the pie when we break down how your credit score is calculated. The second thing that you can do to improve credit is to help to pay down your balance early. So if you can even make small payments throughout the month to a credit card or a loan, this can help to keep your balance down and to lower your utilization.
Right.
And credit utilization makes up the second biggest piece of the pie at 30%. And then if you do have several unsecured debts that are hard to manage right now, you may want to consider a debt management plan. We have 55% of US adults who have credit cards also report having debt. And our debt management plan may help you pay off the unsecured debt in 3 to 5 years. With the typical debt management plan, our clients are able to pay off $15,491 in debt over 3.5 years. Wow. Last year, we helped more than 65,000 households pay off over $200 million in debt. And then the last tip I would give you right now is to help to improve credit is simply time. And I know with stress, patience is not necessarily the highest level. At least for me, it's not. I know that doesn't work for me. Even though it may be hard to wait, length of credit history is the next biggest chunk at 15% of your credit score. So waiting, having more time with your credit history and more time to let those late payments get older and on your credit report, they get dropped off after 24 months. So time will help.
Wow. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Next question, big area in the news a lot, what's going to happen with it, and many people out there dealing with student loans. So what's a couple of tips or advice you could give those with student loans to deal with post-COVID?
That's a great question, and I know it's a big topic in the news right now. The Biden administration has recently announced that the pandemic relief for about 41 million federal student loan borrowers will be extended under the CARES Act. The extension will give most federal student loan borrowers additional bill paying breathing room through October this year. We also have a lot more details about student loans in an article we contributed to the U.S. News and World Report. So there's some information there we can share with you. And then depending on your situation, there may be benefits to still make payments ahead of the game. And once loan bills are due again, if you can keep or start making your payments right now, you can help to pay the loan off faster with less interest. Again, as we talked about with on-time payments, you can help to improve your credit rating. And you can improve your debt totals for overall financial health if you're able to pay those payments now. What if your payment, or what if your student loan is not a federal student loan? I would recommend giving us a call so we can walk through your specific situation with your specific lender. Our student loan counseling is now free. So that just changed recently, and we're here to help because it's a big question for a lot of folks.
Wow. And I think I wanted you to touch a little bit more on, because this relief plan is really, like you said, for federal student loans. Mm-hmm. And so many people may not understand what that means. Like, they may assume because they have a student loan that it is a federally funded student loan, and it may actually be private, even for some of the bigger names that we may have. Like, for example, Navient, is that a federal student loan or is that considered private? And I know a lot of people have Navient student loans.
That is a great question, and I'm just not sure how to answer that, and I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
What I would encourage you to do is give us a call. I'm not sure if Navient could have either or both, or if it's only private.
Right.
So just give us a call, and we can easily help you figure that out. Right. And we can easily help to do a conference call maybe with you, with your student loan provider, so we can help to figure out what you have and what you need to do, put that plan into place.
Right. And for our listeners, you know, she said GreenPath now offers free student loan counseling. That is huge. You know, and there's people that are still walking around 15, 20 years later that still have student loan debt. Yeah, me. That's why I said 15, 20 years. Yep. And so to know that you have someplace to call that has the education, the background to help you and walk you through this is huge. And so for our listeners, please, please, please take advantage. And when we get towards the end, I know Jessie's going to share some information on how you can contact them. But still moving forward, I kind of alluded to this in the question before. 2020 brought so many different changes for all of us. Changes, you know, everybody hates change already, but when you have that quick, unexpected change, it's more shocking. And so, you know, thinking about that and people's financial well-being and all of that, what has GreenPath done to help educate just the masses and all that's going on from a financial wellness, financial education standpoint? Tell us some of the things. I know what they are, and I think they're great, but
sure.
Yeah, let our listeners know about that.
So by far the most important guidance that we like to offer is to remind people that you are not alone. And I don't know if that always helps, but you're not alone in the situation, and you have a place to go for help. So again, just ask for that help, take that leap of faith and give us a call. Next thing you want to do is really to understand you and your family's unique situation. You're not alone, but not every situation is going to be the same.
Right.
We also want to make sure that you're prioritizing your most important expenses. So taking care of the essential needs in your household. So your housing is going to be, you know, top of the list, medicine, medical supplies, food, water, you know, basic utilities. And then if that still is not, sufficient income to cover those, then we can talk a little bit about, understanding where you could potentially increase income, or we could talk a little bit about reducing some other expenses. We also want to make sure that you help to understand the terms and repayment options of any debts that you do have. So again, we talked about housing, student loans, but you might be renting, or you might have any other type of debt. If the borrower hasn't already, you should, as we mentioned, make sure that you're in contact with your lender as soon as possible to request hardship and obtain a copy of the terms of any payment plans that is available for you. You want to make sure that you're staying current with information related to any changes in your forbearance or your loan, extension or assistance dates. And then always make sure that you're maintaining detailed records of all interactions with those conversations over the phone. You want to make sure that you're keeping your creditors updated to your situation in order to sustain a meaningful and beneficial dialogue that may help you to negotiate those feasible terms. And of course, we want you to give us a call. We have 167 housing counselors, which are HUD certified and ready to assist homeowners with their most valuable asset. Our guidance can help people facing foreclosure understand the prevention options and prevention to foreclosure, repayment plans, forbearance, loan modifications, or refinancing. And borrowers should avoid advertised quick fixes. Please, please, please do not go to a company that guarantees a loan modification. This doesn't exist. It's most likely a scam. My biggest thing when I was counseling is there's no cost to do a loan modification. So if somebody is telling you you have to pay for a loan modification, don't. Your money, if you have the money to pay for a loan modification, that should be going to your mortgage company, not to some third party. And again, make sure that you're staying in contact with your lender directly. That's the reputable source. That's the right resource to talk to.
Thank you so much, Jessie. I know we said we were going to do 5 tips to improve your credit score, but we actually covered a lot more than that. And just a quick review of what we hit and what we shared here. Pay on time, pay down your balances. That's 65% of your credit score. Think about that, just those 2 things. Mm-hmm. Then also give it time, your payment history. Now you're up to 80% of your credit score just with those 3 items there. And then, of course, what GreenPath is really good at, a debt management plan. And then something you do on your own is make sure you stay in contact with your lenders or your creditors and build that relationship. If you do those 5 things, your credit score will begin to improve. And then I love the soft skill side of things of what you shared, Jessie, in terms of, you're not alone in this. We're all going through in some form or fashion, but make sure that you look at your situation uniquely and not everyone as a whole. And I thought good advice on essentials first. Don't go out. You may have to put some things off for a little while and give it a little time, but make sure the essentials are taken care of. And I took a little scripture, if that's okay. There's a scripture that says, ask, seek, knock. And during this time, I believe that would probably be the most important thing. Ask the right questions. Don't be afraid to ask for forbearance if you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for forgiveness. Don't be afraid to seek out people who can help. And when those creditors tell you no, or those borrowers tell you no, or you get a no, just keep knocking, because there's people out there willing to help, and no one out there willing to help any more than GreenPath. So Jessie, if you would, please tell our listeners where they can find you.
Absolutely. You can give GreenPath a call at 866-809-8910. Again, that's 866-809-8910. or you can go to greenpath.com/AOCU for Alabama One Credit Union.
Yep, and that's what I was going to say. Hey, for those of you who are our members, you can always go to alabama1.org and get to GreenPath through our website. We totally believe in this partnership. And I'll toss it back to both of you. Jackie, you first. Do you have any additional tips or comments? And then I'll let you speak as well, Jessie.
Yeah, I would just say, and we touched on so much, and it was great information that Jessie shared, but seek out, like Martin said, seek out someone to help you, to ask. Don't be afraid. We all have experienced this pandemic in some form, shape, or fashion, and we've all had to adjust to the changes and what's happened. And so I would say, definitely go to the Alabama One website. We have tons of information. And if you don't want to talk to speak with a person, there's videos on there that you can watch by yourself. There's videos on GreenPath's website that you can watch and engage and find out information. So the information is out there, and we just want to make sure that you all have access to it. Feel free to call me and get in touch with me directly at Alabama One if you need to. And you can do that by emailing me at Finwell, and that's FINWELL at alabama1.org. That email will come to either myself or to someone on my team, and we'll be more than happy to help and engage and assist you. And then if all else fails and you don't want to go with someone local because you'll probably see me out in public, then go with GreenPath and they can help you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any closing thoughts, Jessie?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. The one thing I would say that I didn't mention already, it is free and confidential to call GreenPath. Yes. We're going to take you and your situation very seriously and give you some specific advice for you and your family situation. So it's not necessarily just a cookie cutter conversation. We're going to understand what's happening for you and your situation, your income, your expenses, and give you a plan specified to help you meet your goals, whatever those goals might be. So keep that in mind. It is free and it is confidential to call GreenPath.
Awesome advice. And one last thing that you mentioned, and Jackie reiterated, not all student loans are created equal, and there's going to be a lot of conversation with this stimulus package about forgiveness. Please make sure you find out if yours is covered. Don't assume it's covered. Know the repayment plans. And if you can pay a little bit now, pay a little bit now. For Jackie Johnson, Director of Financial Wellness and Community Outreach, Ms. Jessie Garrison with GreenPath, I'm Martin Houston, Senior Director of Membership Growth. We thank you so much for joining us for this edition of FinTALK Academy. We'll be back with you next quarter once again, and thank you all so much for being a part.